In an in-depth Gamasutra analysis Allison looks at the universe and history of player-NPC dialogue interaction in games, analyzing titles from Mass Effect through Fallout to The Sims and beyond. In 1966, Joseph Weizenbaum created Eliza, pictured below, a computer program designed to emulate interaction between the user and an artificial therapist. Ever since, designers of interactive entertainment have attempted to incorporate meaningful interactions with virtual characters in order to aid immersion. The most popular Western RPGs, like the Baldur's Gate and Fallout series, live and died by the strength of their dialogue and the player's ability to influence the non-player characters. Japanese romance games such as Konami's Tokimeki Mario and visual novels like the Phoenix Wright series revolve almost entirely around character interactions. Even action titles like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas incorporate elements of non-violent character interaction to make the world come to life. However, while a great deal has been written about the process of creating game characters and writing for games, very little literature has addressed the mechanics behind character interaction in games. While likable design and well-written dialogue are among the most vital aspects in engaging a player with in-game characters, the systems of interaction certainly play an important role as well. RPG interaction gameplay is a part of nearly every modern game, in the form of dialogue. Barking orders that followers are just choosing who to talk to in turn. However, the Western games industry has always found it difficult to create successful games based solely around character interactions, even though such things are popular in other media, television, novels, etc. The difficulty is in interactive conversation, lie in giving the player the illusion of freedom, while still feeling natural and driving the story forward along interesting paths. Finding the most interesting and engaging way for a player to interact with game characters and develop relationships potentially opens up a wide array of game concepts and themes not typically explored by Western game developers. RPG interaction gameplay has seen numerous permutations throughout the years, but most can be separated into a few categories based on common design patterns. Gameplay varies with regard to level of interactivity, interface, and how the game presents the player with his potential responses. What follows is an overview of the gameplay of character interaction to date. In games using non-branching dialogue, the simplest form of interaction, the player walks up to an NPC and initiates conversation. The NPC delivers his anchor lines and the conversation ends. Alternately, initiating a conversation with an NPC triggers a cutscene where the player's avatar and the NPC have a non-interactive dialogue. If the player talks to the same NPC again, after certain events, the NPC may have different things to say, but the player never has any control over the conversation. The only decision-making involved is whether or not to talk to the NPC. This type of interaction is extremely common and easy to implement, and can therefore be seen in almost any game featuring non-hostile NPCs, such as the original Final Fantasy and The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. While non-branching dialogue is still a regular facet of modern games, due to the absence of gameplay, it is included in this article only for reference. Game dialogue becomes more interactive when conversations can take different paths. The player reads dialogue and chooses their response from a limited set of choices available to them. Conversation typically moves forward, such that the player cannot go back to previous topics or responses. From this basic framework, RPG interaction can be as simple as the player answering a yes or no question in a 3-line conversation with a random NPC in tone, or as complex as the relationship-building simulations in Japanese dating games like Togimeki Memorial. In games where branching dialogue is the primary gameplay focus, the player's choices often affect the NPC's attitudes toward the player one way or another, with the player attempting to get the best response. In order to maximize NPC disposition, one common technique employed to give the player a greater illusion of freedom is to have multiple responses led to the same path. This is usually done as an attempt to limit the quantity of dialogue that must be produced for the game. Therefore, branching dialogue usually cross back in on itself such that while an individual choice may immediately produce a unique response, the rest of the conversation is typically not unique to that choice. In games where the goal of conversation is to improve the player's relationship with the IP, however, while every choice may not change the course of the dialogue, each choice may have a different number of mood points associated with it, and thus the player must still carefully consider his options at every turn. Over 350 developers have come together to create a year's worth of short games for meditations. A game-a-day project dreamed up by Lambeer's Rami Ismail. The games themselves are free to download, but with one catch: each and every one can only be played for a single day a year. Missing a game, however, means you will have to wait until that day in 2020 to give it another shot. According to the project's website, each game was made in 6 hours or so and, for the most part, take around 5 minutes to complete. Most do not feature text, and many are short, experimental, and personal vignettes created by the developers involved for that specific calendar day. Today's meditation, for example, is credited to Jay Wallach, with songs from the studio and grounds, and uses a simple puzzle to illustrate the struggles of spending time with loved ones during the holiday season. As an introverted person, the developers of each daily entry are listed on the meditation's launcher. To the left of each game's short description, Ismail has also said that a full list of the game developers involved with the project will be released on December 31st, 2019, so as to not spoil the surprise for our devs that want their projects left unknown until launch. Though some involved have taken issue with the fact that none of those 350 developers listed on the project's credits page at the time of its first review, it's hard to learn how to be a good leader in the game industry. Luckily, at DD 2012, Bunny, as Brian Sharp, gave a great talk about how to lead well by doing 2 things: communicating effectively and maintaining perspective. Conversations obviously bear meaning on many levels beyond explicit words, and in his talk Sharp explored the assumptions and context with consciously or otherwise used to frame interactions. Skillful framing is worth practicing, as it can inspire, motivate, and energize, helping you navigate the shores of professional power dynamics and strengthen important relationships. Sharp's talk on the subject was both approachable and rich in practical lessons. So if you did not catch it live, make sure to watch it now. That is, freely to watch on the official DD YouTube channel. In addition to this presentation, THEDDC Vault and its accompanying YouTube channel offers numerous other free videos, audio recordings, and slides from many of the recent game developers conference events, and the service offers even more members-only content for DD Vault subscribers. Those who purchased all access passes to recent events, like DD Vault, already have full access to DD Vault, and interested parties can apply for the individual subscription via the DD Vault subscription page. Group subscriptions are also available. Game-related schools and development studios who sign up for DD Vault Studio subscriptions can receive access for their entire office or company by contacting staff via the HGDC Vault Group subscription page. Finally, current subscribers with access issues can contact DD Vault technical support. Gamasutra and DD are sibling organizations under parent company Informa. Red Dead Redemption 2 publisher Take-Two has become embroiled in a legal tussle with the real-world Pinkerton Detective Agency. Pinkerton agents feature heavily in Red Dead 2, and will pursue the player and their ragtag band of outlaws across the Wild West in an attempt to bring them to justice. The organization has also been spotlighted in other works of media.